We are looking at the first technique of determining the roots, or rather the x-intercept of a quadratic function, and that is factorization. On our previous video, we've already defined the standard form of the quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c. So in this, we're looking at an example. In this example, they say determine the roots of this, right? 2x squared minus 5x equals 3. So whenever given a quadratic equation, the very first thing you want to achieve is that you want to write it in this following form, right? So what we will do is we'll put just the 3 on the other side. So it's 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 equals 0. So now this is written in this standard form because we have a, which is 2, we have b minus 5, we have c minus 3, right? So the very first thing now, if we're using the factorization technique, is that we know for a quadratic equation there's only 2 roots, right? So in other words, there can only be 2 factors. There can only be 2 values of x that we can substitute to get 0, right? So the method that I use is that I first look at the last term, right? If the sign of the last term is negative, right? So we won't look at what happens when it's positive. We'll look at that a bit later. But for now, you should know that if the sign is negative, right, automatically the bracket arrangement for this will be like this, right? 1 will have a negative, 1 will have a positive. Bear in mind that this changes if this sign is a positive, but we won't discuss that for now, right? And then the next thing that we do is that we write the factors of the first term, right? So factors of a, right? Factors of a is 1, right? It's 2, it's 2, 1. So when I mean factors, 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 1 is 2, right? And then now we also need to write the factors of c, right? So the factors of 3 is 1 and 3. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 and 1. 3 times 3 is 3. So that remains. So now we've already indicated that the signs that will be put here, it's a negative and a plus, because since one thing you need to remember is that since the last term is negative, so this will be the bracket arrangement. So what we do is we look at this now, right? We'll try to have this distributed to that, right? If we don't get what we're looking for, we'll continue distributing to that. But for now, let's look at this term, right? So what we do is we cross multiply here. So 1 times 3, right? It's 1 times 3 is 3. 3 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2, right? This tells us that after multiplying, there needs to only be a plus and a minus, right? So we need to arrange these values. We need to put a plus, a minus, right? It could be a plus, minus, or a minus, a plus. But what we want to achieve, we want to get the value of the middle term. The answer here, the answer we're looking for, we're trying to get minus 5 at the end, right? That's what we want to get. We want to get the value of the middle term. So if we try for plus 3 minus 2, we get minus 1, which is not what we're looking for. If we try minus 3 plus 2, we get 1, which is not what we're looking for. So we scratch this out, right? We continue. We go to the second factors, right? Now we multiply 1 times 1, we get 1. We multiply 2 times 3, we get what? 6, right? Remember we said that the sign needs to be a plus minus, right? That's what the sign should be. So we automatically know what we're looking for. It helps to know what you're looking for so that you won't have to bother yourself trying to figure what the sign arrangement should be. So automatically I know that I want a minus 5, and the only way I can get a minus 5 is if this value is negative and this value is positive. So 1 minus 6 is what? The answer is minus 5. So which means this works. And now, since we already know that now we achieved the middle term, and if we take now, these are the factors we use 1 and 2, right? And we tried this, it didn't work out, right? And we tried this, it worked out 3 and 1. So this worked out perfectly. So now how you write this thing is you circle this, you circle these, right? We want to write them in those brackets, and you circle these. So here it's 1x, right, minus 3, right? So 1 and 3. And then here it's 2x 1. So do you see that this becomes the first bracket? This becomes the second bracket. So do you see here we have x minus 3, 2x plus 1. And do you see, you would ask yourself, how did I know to put a minus? A minus, we've already defined that if we're dealing with a negative term for c, then automatically there needs to be a minus and a plus. So this thing that we're doing here, we were just trying to find the factors that we can put there. We already know their signs. So do you see here what we did? We just put 1, we put 3 because that sign was already defined. We put 2x, and then we put 1 because that sign was already defined. And now to just quickly write this a bit neat right at the bottom. So we have x minus 3, 2x plus 1 equals 0. So now to find the roots is that we're going to say x minus 3 equals 0, the first bracket, 2x plus 1 equals 0, the second bracket. So if we solve for x here, we're going to put that 3 to that side. So we're going to have x equals 3. And then here, let's clean this a bit. We'll have 2x equals minus 1. And then we divide by 2 on both sides. We have x equals to minus a half. So this is the second root. So we have the first root is x equals 3. The second is x equals to minus a half.